What's going on, guys? Natividad with DXP Realty coming at you with another video. This is going to be something that's going to help you or supplement the other videos that we just did not too long ago, which is being able to choose the right broker. So I know a lot of people have a little bit of difficulty choosing the right one, outweighing the pros and the cons. So this video is going to be a little bit longer than usual, but I want to make sure that you guys make the right decision as soon as you start, instead of having to do what I did. So a little bit of backstory, but before I go on into detail, if you do get value out of this video as well as the other ones that you may be able to see, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe, so that way we can make sure we can continue making videos like these, helping you guys out as well as your friends and family, making sure that everybody's well taken care of. But if you guys have any questions, make sure you reach out to me. I'm always here to help. But let's get into it. So basically what I was going to touch on when I first started, didn't really look too much into if the right broker or anything like that. Really all I did was listen to certain people that said, hey, no, this is the best place to be. I ended up in a mom and pop shop. Granted, I was fairly green, fairly new. As most of you guys probably know, in the beginning, you're just listening, following the flow of whoever you were shadowing or whoever you were listening to. Nothing wrong there. I just more than likely didn't ask the right questions, didn't really look much into it, didn't even care much for the split. I had no clue what that meant or anything like that. The support training, never even asked questions, so it was more my fault. But at the end of the day, those are things that you got to look at, like I said on the other videos, before you even go any further. But let's get into the real details and the nitty-gritty of it. First thing that I want to touch base on with you guys is making sure that you find a brokerage that gives you the right split for you, or let's say basically what you're going to be taking home pretty much. So there's two types that we see, right? The first one will be your split brokerages that have like your 80-20, 70-30. Sometimes it can be different. It just really depends on the brokerages in your area. I know most that I've talked to not too long ago, majority have been 80-20. I rarely see different than that. Sometimes 70-30, but mostly it's 80-20. And then of course you have your flat fees. Now on the flat fees, it can be that you pay just $200, 300, 500 per transaction, which a lot of people think, well, man, if that's all I have to pay is $500 per transaction, I keep more money on my and basically my pockets. Yeah, if you think of it that way, yeah, it does make sense. But always think of it as well as a business, right? If you were to be the person, or let's say the broker, that owns that business, right? What's more beneficial to you? Especially for you as an agent when you're first starting. The more you pay, majority of the time, or the way you should see it is, the more you pay, the more support, and the more you get out of the company, right? That's the broker that you're working with. But when it comes to the less or the least that you give a broker, majority of the time, that means less support, less things that you get. That can be websites, that can be, CRM systems, lead generator systems, you name it, right? The less money you give, more than likely there's less that they can give back to you. So not everybody is the same, right? That's why we say look at your options and see where you fit best and what fits best for you and your family. Always keep in mind, even if you're just a single person, in the future it's going to be you and your family. So whatever can give you the best benefit right off the bat when it comes to the split, that's pretty much what you got to look at, right? You got to look for that, which split broker, or do you want to go with the flat fee broker? That's one of the first things you got to look at. Second one you got to pay attention to is the cap. So basically, there are a lot of agents don't even know, or they're not even really sure what a cap is, because they're barely starting. So they're not even thinking like, man, I don't even know how much I'm going to be making at the end of the year doing this business. But if you think about it this way, before you even get into a broker, is your cap. Basically, that's going to mean whatever out of the 80-20 split, whatever the amount is from that 20%, that cap, let's say for example it's 16,000, that 20% per transaction has to add up to that cap, that $16,000 cap. Now, other brokers are different. Some of them don't even have caps. So at that point, it's really up to you if you want to choose that company, right? But me personally, I would go with something that's going to be, gradually going to that cap, and then more than likely get something back at the end, right? Majority of the time, the people that decide to do things differently and they want to go with, let's say, 100% or flat fee, majority of the time they have a cap, but at the end of the day, sometimes they don't. So if you're going to be ramping up and you're picking up, or basically you're gathering up steam, basically, you got to think, which one's going to give you more back and in the long run. If there's going to be a cap on, perfect, because once you hit that cap, everything usually after that is 100%, just some fees, which we're going to touch on in a little bit. But at the end of the day, if you can hit that cap and then you're still making money after that, then it's a win-win for you and your family, right? But if you're doing the other route, right, which is basically, a flat fee, sometimes they don't have a cap. At that point, you're paying $500 or whatever the fee is, and every single transaction, if you make 100 transactions, do the math, right? It's a lot of money that you're giving this broker, and majority of the time you get not much back. So that's for the cap. So first, split, depending on looking for the split, whatever you want to pay, the cap. And then of course the next thing that we're going to be looking at is the fees. This is going to be different as well as the other things to each broker. Majority of the time you have monthly fees, and this is going to be for, depending on the broker, maybe they have certain tech fees, certain broker transaction review fees. Man, there's different things that there's fees for. I know for a fact the more common ones are going to be like your franchise fees. So if you go with the big brokerage, the big name that's a franchise, more than likely you pay a fee monthly just for the name, just for the branding. The other one will be monthly fees for, the broker to review, let's say, your transactions. If you're making transactions, majority of the time it's per transaction that you have this fee. So you're in luck there, right? If everything goes well and you got yourself a contract, as long as he does the reviewing, then of course you got to pay the guy to do his job, or the lady to do his job, and make sure that you're compliant. But fees, there's not much to it. It's just something you have to pay. It is what it is, right? The next thing that you got to look at is basically, what they offer, with those fees, right? So the majority of the time you got to look at what they really offer. Do they offer a web page, cards, signs, CRMs? Pretty much what you're going to be looking at for a web page is just making sure that you can get it connected to the IDX, or get an IDX connected web page, which is basically going to be like your own personal Zillow in your website. So a lot of people don't have that. So whenever anybody asks, like, hey, where can I see houses? You're going to let them know, hey, just go to Zillow. But when it comes to you having your web page connected, through that IDX, and it's connected to your MLS, it's a win-win for you, because now instead of them going to Zillow, Realtor.com, and things like that, or websites like those, you're going to be able to let them know, hey, check out my webpage. It's exactly like Zillow, but it's more accurate, what have you. You're going to be able to let them know that you have a legit website. And then that's going to help you out as well to make you look a little bit more legit, right? So it's a win-win for real. But also, if they're going to be able to offer you cards, business cards to get you started, signs, and even a CRM, which is basically just to be able to manage, those leads that are coming in. And even with those fees that you have, you got to make sure that another thing that may offer, which is like a lead generator. I know some companies do, some companies don't. Those are things that are beneficial for you as an agent when you first start. I know we spoke about it in another video that we just did, but things like this you really got to think about. So we already spoke about those 4 things. I know another thing that a lot of agents really don't think about, because they're just wanting to get into the game, get into the business, and make sure you have leads. But once you start gathering and picking up steam, and you got yourself a couple deals under your belt and you know for a fact you can do this, you got to think about other additional income within that brokerage. The majority of the time, there's not much, man. There's more than likely none. So what you really got to look at is with these brokerages that have that option to gather additional income. That could be residual income from, profit share, from revenue share, things like that is going to set you up for the future. Not necessarily right away. Sometimes it could be right away, benefits right away, but your goal is to be here in the long run, right? That's the way I think. So for me, I would really look into, or let's say my recommendation for you guys would be really looking into the additional income that comes with that brokerage. So there's plenty out there that are trying to give you these options, but there's only a select few that can definitely execute it. So definitely keep your ear out and pay attention to these companies that can give you that. Another one that we want to talk about is being able to be a part of a company that gives you a piece of what that company is, ownership. So I know there's companies, like I said, that try to do something similar, and that's why I stress so much that you got to make sure that if you're going to be with a company, they're going to be able to give you a piece, or not necessarily putting it that way, that's a little too weird, right? Giving you a piece, but in reality, being pretty direct, that's what it is. Being able to own a piece of that company that you're working with. So you're definitely going to give it even more of let's say, more of a chance to do a lot more and produce more for that company, because technically you're part owner of that company. And the way you do that is receiving stocks. I can tell you this so much, not many companies do it, but the ones that do are the ones that are going to be helping you, because you yourself are part of that company, and you're going to want it to grow. You're going to want to see it expand and do a lot better, because that stock that you get rewarded for doing already what you're doing, which is selling homes and helping families, that's what's going to give you the most benefit as a agent moving forward in your career. So we talked about those. It's a lot of things that have to do with money, right? The ins and outs, what comes in, what comes out, what's the benefit, that kind of thing. So the next things are going to be a little bit more in detail, for the reason that the things are going to help you not only just get started, but stay in the know and having the knowledge even after 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 years, because it's completely different every year, guys. As in training wise, different things come in, different methods and whatnot that help you grow as an agent. Typically most of the brokerages have just your traditional training, which is most of the time it's outdated. I know nowadays, man, there's so many things that a lot of brokerages, if it's more like a mom and pop shop, majority of the time they really don't know of what's happening around them, because things are moving so fast. Now, that one person that you're going to be talking to and doing the training, you got to make sure that it's the best, go-to person when it comes to training that's, for tech, that's for social media, like systems, like everything's changing every day, every year. Just look at how long ago a lot of people were just looking at things just on the internet. Really, there wasn't much social media presence until just in the last couple of years. It starts progressing. YouTube started having more, real estate agents, getting out there. Social media through Facebook, LinkedIn. Man, there's so many things, and now it's easily accessible for people, to reach out and, get you as an agent. But if the brokerage where you're at doesn't have that type of training where it teaches you how to do things, in the internet, through your web page, through your social media, then you're losing out on a lot of opportunities. So definitely think about the training, see if it's up to date, if they do consistent training as well. Another thing that you're going to look at is going to be the next tip, or the next thing that you're going to look at in a broker is support. Is this person really going to look out for what's best for me, like the agent? You got to think about that. If it's going to be, let's say, a smaller brokerage, let's say a mom and pop, majority of the time, the broker is going to be doing the reviewing, is going to be doing a lot of things himself or herself, and it may take a little bit of time to get the support. That's what you got to think about. Like, okay, is this going to be a good place for me as a new agent that needs the support, and that you're going to have a lot of questions to get, and to get started really. If you haven't done your due diligence already, you're going to have a lot of questions within the first couple months, years even, depending on what your status is when it comes to like doing these deals, right? So at the end of the day, guys, support has a lot of importance and a lot of weight, because that's what's gonna make you a better agent moving forward. If you have questions, you can't get them answered, more than likely you're gonna end up getting discouraged, and then from there, I mean, who knows? You may get discouraged enough to leave. We don't want to see that. We don't want you to be the next statistic, basically, of a failing agent. So look at that. Look at the support. The next two things are going to be key, because it's something different. Something different that I'm pretty sure that a lot of agents that you probably see on YouTube or even look online aren't really going to talk about, and that's culture. Culture is something that's keeping a lot of agents in the business now. More than likely back in the day, like I said, I've only been doing this for 4.5 years. I don't know how they did it back in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, but I know for a fact now, the places that have that culture, that family feel, that, that I belong feeling, is what kind of like helps the agent keep going. Because you're going to be able to find where these top producers are at, but also those top producers that are there are wanting you to grow. So if they have that culture where they're accepting, they want to help you, they want to push you forward, that's the culture you want around you. I'm pretty sure you've already heard about, who you hang around with is kind of what you're going to reflect. If that, area, or let's say that broker that you ended up choosing, has people that are not that happiest and maybe not the most positive, that's going to give you a huge effect on how you do your business and how you move forward. So definitely, aside from everything else that's going to be involved with money and support and training, the next thing you got to make sure is that the culture is where you want to be. So that's what you want to focus on. So what I can definitely tell you now, moving over now to the next thing of what I did, what I ended up choosing, and I'll go into it in detail right now. So pretty much, guys, what I ended up doing, aside from just looking at the money aspect of it, is making sure that the company that I ended up going with is somebody that I felt comfortable. I started off with basically a mom and pop shop, and then from there, I ended up joining a team. This team leader, we moved from one brokerage to another, and then we landed with EXP, where that's where I'm at now. I can speak so highly of this company, guys, solely because they've really taken care of us. They've taken care of us. They've helped us basically get to where we need to be. What I can tell you from right now, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people are already like, click, I'm out of here, like, get me out of here, I don't want to hear about EXP, I see it everywhere. Well, there's a reason why you see it everywhere. It's great. It's a great company, guys. The way that this company works, as a broker, it's an 80-20 split. There is a $16,000 cap. And then the thing that I enjoyed most when it comes to this company is that they offer you your CRMs, lead generators, as well as top producers get their cap back in stock, in company stock. So basically there's like your 100% for the whole transaction, and you get your money back. I mean, it's just amazing. So, I'll touch more on this company and where I'm at and why I ended up going with them, in another video. But what I wanted to make sure is you guys have these tips to get you started and how to choose your right broker from the get-go. If you're already with somebody else and you want to check it out, definitely check it out and, evaluate to see, what's to your benefit. Am I paying, this broker a little too much? Am I getting anything back? Outweigh your pros and the cons, man. Like, legit, write a tea table. I remember back in the day in school, they always had you like, all right, write your T table or whatever it is, your T on the paper, and pros and cons. You know, what am I getting out of it from what I'm putting, you know, in money wise. Definitely gonna help you guys out. You know, I want to make sure you guys succeed. But if you have any questions, you just want to reach out to me and see like, hey Nat, what can I do for this, and this? You know, if you just need a little bit more explanation on how to get started, you know, I'll put out more videos as we go. But you know, feel free, give me a call. You know, send me an email, send me a text. You know, all my info is typically at the bottom, you know, in the information below. You know, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video, and if you did get value out of it, make sure you leave a like, leave a comment, share it, and subscribe so we can keep, you know, helping people out. Okay, I really appreciate it, guys. You have a great day. Bye bye.